Thank you for joining this webinar where we have our Academy of Music and Fine Arts Academy joining to talk about our master's programs here at Lund University. And I'm shortly going to allow you to introduce yourselves as a panelist. And my name is Cecilia Jepsen, and I work as an international marketing manager here at Lund University, which means I work with helping students throughout the application process. So what's going to happen today is we're going to ask some questions to the staff here today about the programs. And as an attendee, we welcome you to ask any questions you have in the Q&A here. So feel free to ask any questions you have. There are no dumb questions. We're here to help you today, so take the opportunity to ask away. And let's get started. Eva-Lena, would you like to introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you work with? And which programs do you represent today?
I am Eva-Lena Thulin. I work at Malmö Art Academy with administration, student administration, and also a lot with the application process. And I'm representing the master program of fine arts today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eva-Lena. And Young-Yi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Young-Jae Lee, and I work as a junior lecturer at Malmö Art Academy, which is a fine art department. So I teach photography and 3D rendering mostly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mai, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello, my name is Mai Hesea, and I'm the rector of Malmö Art Academy, and it kind of goes without saying what I'm representing here today.
Perfect, thank you so much. And Rebecca, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Laspo. I'm program coordinator at the Performance and Church Music department at Malmö Academy of Music. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you so much. And we're going to actually start with quite a general question that we quite often get from students, and it's about your application process. So I was thinking, Eva-Lena, would you like to explain a little bit about your application process to the programs?
Yeah, our application process is in 2 steps. You need to register at universityadmissions.se, where you upload your former grades and a copy of your passport, very important, in order not to be forced to pay a tuition fee if you're a citizen of Denmark or the Nordic countries, or not the Nordic, sorry, European countries, EU countries. And the other part is that you have to register in Malmö Art Academy's portal, and there you upload your portfolio that should consist of 5 to 8 samples of your work, of your artistic works. And they're also placed, I mean, every work can be represented by up to 5 images, sound, videos, whatever technique you are working in. And you should also add a letter that you describe your artistic process and why you're applying to Malmö Art Academy. And lastly, you should add 2 letters of recommendation as well from former tutors, teachers, etc. Shortly, it's that.
Perfect, thank you so much. And for the music programs, would you, Rebecca, like to explain the application process more in detail?
Yes, we just opened our application for this year. So now you can apply via university admissions until the 16th of January is the last day to apply. And it's the same process as Eva-Lena explained about to upload your earlier studies and passport and such on the university admission page. And then it's we do have admission or entrance exams in March during week 10. It's the 2nd week of March, I think, where you will be invited to do your admission test here in Malmö. During the pandemic and after we have did it in some other ways, but now we are back for master's program. We are back in that we do them on site in Malmö. So we welcome you here, and you have to read carefully on our web page what is expected to perform during the test. So it's different repertoire for different instruments and specializations. So, but everything is on our website to read.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca. And Young-Yi, I'm going to ask you a question. If a student is interested in this subject area, why do you think they should study these particular programs that we offer?
I think we have a quite good connection with industry, and probably students are quite interested in after what they do after graduation. And we have a lot of guest lecturers and coming from outside of even Sweden and different part of the world. So you can kind of exchange your ideas and verify your works. So that's a good start to continue work as an artist, I would say.
And Mai, would you agree with this? Do you have any other information here as well that you would like to share?
No, I completely agree with Young-Yi's perspective. And I also want to say that since it is a quite interesting education that we're offering with very individualized curriculum, and on master's level, we have solo exhibitions as exam works, which means that we differ quite a lot from other art schools throughout Europe, where you usually would be examined in a group show. So here it's really, it's getting as close as possible to the professional level while you're about to graduate. So I think that's also significant and to keep in mind while looking for which program to apply for. And of course, it's highly attractive program, and we get a lot of applicants also on master's level.
Thank you, Mai. And if I ask you, Rebecca, if I'm interested in studying music, why should I come to Lund University and the Music Academy here?
I would say because it's a part of it is of course the academy itself. We have a lot of practice rooms, a lot of venues open the whole day and evening for you to practice. We have really good teachers also connected with the professional life in the region. And also, of course, Malmö is a fantastic city to live and study in, and the region with the cultural life and closeness to also Copenhagen and Europe is, of course, a big effort when studying here. Yeah.
Thank you. For those of you participating, I just want to remind you that we have a Q&A if you feel like you have any specific questions to our panelists here today. So throughout the webinar, just feel welcome to ask any questions you have. Take the chance to. So Eva-Lena, for when it comes to applicants, what are the most common questions you get from both prospective students and applicants about your programs?
Yeah, what is the most common question? It's a hard one. Lots of students are wondering about if they will get an own studio, and yes, they will get here in Malmö at the regular master program. Every student has their own studio to work in, and also lots of workshops to work in. We have different workshops for lots of techniques, from 3D, as Young-Yi was talking about, and photography, to metal workshops, wood workshops, and video workshops, and so on. So that's lots of question about what the school can offer, and that's what we can offer. And as Mai said, the 2 galleries, that is, we have 2 galleries at the school. So the master students exhibit on their own, and they also have other exhibitions in the galleries sometimes.
Oh, that's exciting. Really good to have your own studio as well as a student.
Yeah,
that's the luxury, I'd say.
It is.
And Rebecca, you're getting a lot of questions today since you're the one representing music, so you will get all the same questions here. But what are the most common questions you get from both prospective students and applicants about the programs?
Well, let's most of them are about the entrance exams, of course, questions about what more specific maybe about repertoire and such, but also of course about what teachers they can wish, or how it works with those questions, if they can choose between the our different teachers and such. And also about, of course, venues, opening hours and such stuff like that. And also, of course, about finding an apartment, finding somewhere to stay while you're studying here. That's also quite common question. Yeah.
And would you say most of the students decide to live in Malmö during their studies?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, we are part of Lund University, but still we are physically we are in Malmö. So most of our students live in Malmö, where it's, I mean, pretty easy to find good apartments to stay or student housing, and so
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning that even students studying in Lund actually sometimes live in Malmö because it's only 10 or 14 minutes commuting, so it's very convenient.
Exactly.
We have a question here, I think it's about the arts programs. What are the master's portfolio requirement standards like? I'm not sure who's best to answer that, if it's you, Eva-Lena, or...
Maybe Mai, I don't know. What do you think, Mai?
You go ahead,
I mean,
Mai.
we have 5 to 8 work samples. So it's documentation of work, installation shots. Usually when you're applying on master's level, you come from a BA level prior to this, and you have significant documentation of your works. It depends on the media you work in. We don't have departments. We are an interdisciplinary school, meaning that you can apply with whatever media you're working in. Throughout your education, you will also be able to meet across the sections of all media in terms of professors and teachers. So it's basically up to you how you want to put your curriculum together, which also means that when you are graduating, you have like an incredibly specialized education behind you. But I think in terms of the work, the portfolio samples, it's good quality images, documentation shots, make sure the videos are working, the sound files are working, double check it, ask someone to look into it, because that's kind of common issues when you are uploading to the portal, that maybe you have a high res file if you're working in video, and then it's impossible to view it. So compress it so it still looks good, project it. So these different types of qualities that you need to consider also, not only applying for the art academy, but throughout your career as an artist, I think is really worth taking into consideration.
And would you say, Mai, if I continue with you, that this is one of the biggest mistakes students do when applying, not making sure they check their files? Or are there any other common mistakes that students do?
I think that in particular, the technical aspect is it's weighing in terms of things that go wrong when you are actually uploading. So it's something about just keeping that in mind. Then also making sure when you are applying to a program that you know about the program. Do your research. Why Malmö Art Academy? Why the Music Academy in Malmö? Really do your research. I think that's essential in these applications, that we get a sense of you really taking this into consideration. You're not just done a standard application and submitted it to 8 different art academies. I think that is the key. It's something that we're really valuing. That, okay, here's someone who really took their time to think, this is where I want to be. So that, I think, is definitely an advice from us, that really pay attention to the application process.
Sounds like really great advice. And Rebecca, I can see you nodding a bit, but if you also want to add on here, what are the most common mistakes students do? And
okay, during the pandemic, we had some also trouble maybe with the techniques and stuff like that, uploading samples of work and such video recordings. But now I would say also that some people, we have a pair of people every year applying for the wrong program. I mean, for the wrong level. So they apply for maybe bachelor instead of master's program, and we can't do anything about it after the 16th of December. So really be careful when you do your application, so it's to the correct program.
Read the instructions, follow the instructions. Take your time to review your application. We did get another question here, sort of the same one. It's asking about the standards of the portfolio for the bachelor's programs. Would you say it's the same as for the master's?
Yes, I mean, it is same requirements. Of course, we are assessing it differently because it's different levels in that sense. But I mean, it's really good that when you have to take into consideration that we view a tremendous amount of work samples. It's more than 600 on BFA level and around 200 on MFA level. So if you as an applicant really want to make the most of it, make sure when you have your documentation, write down where was it taken, something about the dimensions, so we get a sense of a space, because sometimes we get a sense there's something at stake here, but it's really hard to see from the documentation, and we are completely dependent on good quality of documentation in order to assess it correctly. So I think that's the advice. And similar to what Rebecca is saying, that we also receive these applicants that are applying to the wrong program, or thinking maybe I should just apply to all programs, and that doesn't look good either. I mean, pay attention, figure out what would I like to do, which program would be suitable for me, and then go for that, because I think that's also something we're looking at.
Thank you so much.
I can also add that we open our application the 20th of January, and then on the instructions you can also read the exact different formats of sound and film, etc. files that we accept. So read that carefully before uploading.
Thank you, Eva-Lena. So Young-Yi, what kind of students would you say you are looking for your program? What should be the characteristics of a student studying there?
Well, that's a very hard question. But I would say that because we have a special application process with all the teachers gathering, and we read through all your portfolio. So of course, depend on professor and teachers, they have their own perspective. We kind of debate this student has a very good potential, or how we can develop, how we can help. So in the end, we kind of collect like 20-25 people out of that. So you have to consider that process. So in connection with previous questions, so you have to give us enough information how in this work was produced in what context and aiming for what, and you were trying to produce in what subject and so on. So of course the documentation is very important to see all different side picture. For instance, if it is a sculpture, so sometimes the people just snap picture, then it's very hard to see as an audience, and we cannot really trace what it was. So that's I would emphasize again.
Maybe I can also add a little bit in terms of what type of students are we looking for. I mean, we want the best qualified students, of course. And since it's very competitive, we have 15 spots on master level, and we have around 200 applicants. The level is really high. So have ambition when you apply. I think that would be my advice. And of course, that shows also when you have put your portfolio together in a manner that shows that you have the ability to reflect about your artistic practice.
And for the art programs, Eva-Lena, how many students are there generally in the programs? And are there both Swedish students and international students, or what does a normal class typically look like?
Yeah, all our programs consist of both the international and Swedish students, and we accept 12 for the bachelor's level every year and 15 for the masters. And then we have a master of, help me, I lost it.
Master of Fine Arts in Artistic Research.
Yeah, and they're up to 8, right? Yeah.
Mm. So fairly small classes in general.
Yeah.
Yes. And for the music programs, Rebecca, first of all, what kind of students are you looking for, and what does a typical class look like?
I mean, what we measure in the admission test is not some kind of typical this kind of student, but we measure it's about the level and the possibility or ability to develop within your instrument. That is what we look at. So it's different from year to year how many in different instruments we are accepting. It can be different from year to year, of course. So what would I say? I'm not sure how many exactly we admit on the master's level. I mean, we have many hundreds of students on all levels, of course. So I can't say the exact. Maybe it's about 40 students on all master's program.
Yeah.
But then we have also, I mean, composition and we have different specialization within classical music and jazz as well. So yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, because you have a lot of specializations in music in general, of course.
Yes. Yeah. If you prepare to the art academy, it's a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one would you say is the biggest specialization within music?
It's the symphony orchestra program. And within the symphony orchestra program, you apply for one instrument, of course. So you apply on violin or trumpet or another. So I mean, that's the biggest program of ours. Yeah.
Thank you. And Mai, if I was a student starting a program in arts, would you say that the program structure is already set when I start, or are there opportunities to choose some elective courses or to sort of build my own program to some extent?
I mean, our foundation is that you build your own program. There's very few mandatory courses. There is a documenting your own artworks, and maybe you already get a sense of how important we think this is, that you really understand, how to present your works also after they've been installed into a space. So that is one of the mandatory courses on a master's level. And then, of course, the exam. But again, it's completely individualized. So you choose from a batch of elective courses. You choose who you want to meet of the teachers. You should meet at least 2 of the professors throughout the semester in individual studio visits. But of course, we are encouraging everybody to meet whoever they would like to meet. We have this foundation at the Art Academy that to break with this idea of the professor school, which was a foundation within arts education for centuries, we are asking the students to invite the teachers into their individual studio. So it means there's a feminist pedagogy as the foundation of our structure. So you as a teacher cannot just enter a studio without permission. You need the student to invite you in. So it means that you have quite a bit of control over how you shape your education. When you start as a new MFA1 student, you have an individual tutorial with me and a professor for 15 minutes. So, and that goes for everybody throughout the years, that we start the semester with an individual tutorial to just get a sense, to get to know each other, but also as a space where you can address certain things from the previous semester into the new semester. And we're a very small school. We have 74 spaces for masters and bachelor students, and we have 6 PhD students and 1 postdoc. So we're there's very close proximity to between teachers, administration, technicians, and the students. Very, very close proximity. That means that we also are very easy to get in touch with. If you want to have a conversation around something, or there's just something of concern, it's very easy to just continue the dialogue as we already initiated in the beginning of the studies. And I think that some of the key elements for us is really that we have the closeness. It also means that you can benefit more from the elective courses, because sometimes you tend to choose safe as a student. But then you also have the teachers who say, oh, maybe you want to try performance even though you're a painter, because maybe that would contribute to a different take on your way of painting. So really just very dialogically when it comes to shaping your education.
Thank you. I think that's really interesting for students to hear, actually. And is it the same for the programs in music, Rebecca, that it's possible to choose your own electives, or?
No, not exactly as in the Art Academy. I mean, our classes is there are much more people in every program and specialization. So the program structure is set, but then you can choose depending on your specialization and instrument. You can choose some between different opportunities within the program. But then we also have about 120 elective or independent courses that you can choose between to, add to your program package. So that's also an opportunity while you're studying here. So and also I would say that several courses are individual. So because of that, you still can form together with your teacher, you can form the content of the course pretty much as well. So you have a lot of individual time with your teachers, as well as more group teaching in the more theoretical subjects and such. Yeah.
There's a benefit of having in some of the smaller classes as well, that you do get more of the individual or personal feeling with the teachers and professors. We have a question here about an MFA program. Just wondering concerning the feminist pedagogy, are the group critiques in the MFA program? Perhaps?
We don't really do group crits in that sense. We do individual tutorials. But how we're going to do about like this notion around the group crit, which is something that you see in a lot of art academies, is basically that we try to implement different ways of talking about works. There's one course called Analyzing Your Own Work, where you install a work and then a small group and a professor is discussing the work without value judgment for 2 hours. That can be one model. So we're really trying to implement this. And then, of course, if you want to self-organize, I know our MFA2 students right now, they're self-organizing a sort of group crit every month, and then they are in our lecture room. So there are different approaches, but from a pedagogical point of view, we feel that it's much more constructive to find other ways of discussing works that is contributing to the development of your work.
Thank you, Mai. So Young-Yi, how would you say the balance is between theoretical and practical experience while studying?
It's very important, and our school has both sides are, I would say, pretty strong, and because you can develop yourself in terms of schedule, and we have great workshops and technician, and also when you discuss your work and also writing essay for your examination, you're supposed to finish with your own artist text. So in that text, you're supposed to include a lot of reference or theories. So to do so, you have to choose theory courses for in the end. So later, this is a whole journey to combine them together in a way with your artist discipline and also theory background.
Yeah, but it's not only a practical program. There's also a lot of theory that you study. Yes. Yeah. And Rebecca, I assume it's the same for music, but you will have to correct me if I'm wrong.
You do different courses is more practical or more theoretical, but I would say that most courses still have this kind of practical part in itself. But many courses are also, the theoretical and more practical are also connected somehow. During the studies. If you, music theory, for example, is theoretical, but it's still very practical and you need to use your body and your instrument to really develop within the subject. So.
Yeah, of course. And Rebecca, sticking on to you here, is it possible to study abroad while studying a master's or bachelor's program in music?
Yes, we're part of the Erasmus. You can do this Erasmus exchange during your studies. We have a lot of students going abroad during their studies, also outside Europe as well. So that's a good possibility as well to do one term or a whole academic year while studying here.
And is it possible to do any internships during your studies?
Yes, we do have a lot of really good collaboration with the other institution in the region. So, for example, with the Malmö Opera, we have a master's program, vocal and drama studies and repetiteur program, where you do actually internship through your whole program time. I mean, during your 2 years here. So you're, I mean, more and more part of the opera house somehow. And also for symphony orchestra instruments, we do have internship in Malmö Symphony Orchestra, Helsingborg Symphony Orchestra, and Malmö Opera Orchestra as well. And for church musicians, we also do every term they have 2 weeks of internship in a church in the region. So there's a lot of opportunities to really get connected and get a lot of contacts within the professional life.
And you help students find these internships as well?
Yes, we set them for them. So they can come with their wishes, but we are the one arranging it with the institution. So they don't have to do it themselves.
Thank you. And Eva-Lena, for the fine arts programs, is it possible to study abroad as an exchange student?
Yes,
well?
we're also part of the Erasmus program. So yes, they can do also within both the Nordic countries and Europe and outside of Europe as well.
And internships, is that also part of fine arts programs?
No, not of a regular program. I don't know how it is with... No, not for the moment, no.
Maybe I can say that we don't really do internships in that sense, but we have a very strong connection with the local arts institutions. So one example could be that we have the lecture committee, that is a student-led committee selecting lecturers to come, and that's in collaboration with Moderne Museet, which is a great partner. But we've had a few students upon graduation who have applied to the Erasmus Plus internship after graduation. You can do that a year after, and that has been very successful. Then within the field of arts, in particular in Sweden, you can also apply for these assistant grants after graduation, which a lot of our former students have already received. So I think it works in a little bit of a different way, where the Music Academy is a bit more skills-based, and we are responding a bit more to the field in the contemporary art field, where internships are not really used in the same manner, but it is possible with the Erasmus after graduation.
Thank you, Mai. And Young-Yi, you've been a former student here, of course, and several of you have been, in fact, which we noticed in the beginning here. But what would you say a normal week looks like for a student in your programs?
I spend most time in my studio, and because that was also one reason I came to this school. Compared to my previous school, I love to have my own studio, and I know a lot of art school kind of share big space, share the space. So that has its own advantage, but we encourage students to have your own space and develop your own practice. So that was the biggest advantage for me. So I try to use this aspect maximum. So during the week, and if I don't have any course, and I spend the most time in my studio and developing my work.
Thank you. And Mai, you had also been a student a couple of years ago. What would you say a normal week looked like?
It looks very different. I mean, depending on if you were, as Young-Yi was saying, like doing courses, or then it was more studio-based. In my practice, it was also field-based because I work socially engaged as an artist. So that was a mix of different perspectives, but I think the studio is central here. And it's something that when you graduate and then you realize how much it means to have your own space for thinking, for writing, for practicing, for doing. And artistic practice can look in so many different ways. Of course, you can be a little bit more locked up to the studio if you have a heavy material-based practice. But I mean, it's so crucial that you have that space, even though that space can also be difficult at times. I think it's really a space where you can allow yourself to think through different things. And in any creative process, there are these waves. Sometimes there's a lot of production going on and it's very visible. And then there's these longer periods of times when nothing happens, or seemingly. Because as an educator, you know that a lot of things are happening, and particularly in these kind of the downfalls of a wave, where you really sense that something is developing, something is cooking, but it hasn't materialized yet. And I think that is our greatest responsibility as teachers and educators, that we protect that creative process to allow these spaces for doubt and certainty, and really have a lot of trust in our students and trust in our teachers and trust in our staff, because basically we are the foundation and the support structure throughout these 2 years. And I think that's crucial.
And Rebecca, what's the situation for the music programs there? What would a normal week look like as a music
normal
student?
week, it can, I mean, it's different, still different from week to week. But I mean, we have those, the academic year is divided into ordinary teaching weeks, where you follow your schedule and do your individual teaching and your group lessons and such, and your own practicing, of course. You have a lot of time for that. But then we have the project weeks. I think it's 6 or 7 per academic year, where you can, where your specialization do something else. So for example, it can be master classes or some kind of concert project or more experimental project that you do. Or for symphony orchestra instruments, you have the orchestra projects during those weeks, where you get to meet and international and national renowned conductors, and you do the project quite similar to the professional orchestras, where they rehearse from Monday until the end of the week, and then we do 2 concerts every project week. And then we also do always one in our own concert hall at the Academy, Rosenberg Hall, and then as well one tour somewhere. We go to Malmö Live and play, or maybe Copenhagen or Helsingborg Concert House. So that's a really good part of the program, that you actually get to know a lot of concert venues around. Yeah. But I mean, usually week, I would say a lot of students, they go to their lessons and then they practice and rehearse together with the chamber ensembles and such. They spend a lot of time at the academy, so it's a really nice social environment as well.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Very exciting to hear about the concerts as well, that you organize those. And for the fine arts programs, I understood that you organize exhibitions every now and then with the students. Eva-Lena, can you tell us more about the exhibitions that you have throughout the year?
Yeah, the year starts with an exhibition that we call the New Students Exhibition. There, the students who start this year exhibit with the works they were applying with in both galleries. It's a group show, of course, that a couple of teachers are curating or helping out with. And then we have the exam shows for the master students that runs throughout the spring semester. They will get an exhibition period of, you can say, 2.5 weeks, about that each. So that's a solo show in one of the galleries. And then we also have a BFA free, the bachelor's degree show once a year, but also it's a group show. And yeah, that's it. And then we have another exhibition that's actually running right now. It's the Edstrandska Foundation Scholarship exhibition. That is a large scholarship that we show about 7 to 8 artists per year. And
these exhibitions are open to the public as well?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yes. And the Edstrandska exhibition, that's a big grant given to artists in Sweden. And a number of them are all, every year, our master students who have got their examination last year. So there are 4 for the moment, yeah, and 4 others. older artists.
Older
More.
artists.
Not older in that sense, but I mean artists that has been working as artists for a number of years. They are not recently examined.
I also want to add, we also have the annual exhibition every May, which is like open studios, basically. So every student will exhibit in their own studio. And that's usually quite, it draws quite a large public.
Yeah.
And it's very festive as well. As great, just getting a sense of what's going on, to see 74 different approaches to being an artist.
That's also in the public spaces of the school at the same time, and the studios.
And Young-Yi, what does a typical studio look like when you come there as a new student? What's in the studio, or what does it look like?
There is nothing, and you're going to have complete your room. So actually, depend on students. Actually, it looks really different. Some people prefer to have only desk and chair and use with a laptop, but some people really working heavily with the materials. Probably they store and also working inside there. So that's really, I would say, depend on what kind of medium you're working with. But in case if you need a bigger space, then we also have separated space, which is a project room. So you can apply it every semester and kind of making experiment for bigger scale and larger space. So you can also display in terms of display as well.
Okay, so you sort of create your own space basically in your studio.
Yeah.
We have some questions here coming in from the students attending. One of them is about the application deadlines. And as we mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, the programs at the Faculty of Fine and Performing Arts have slightly different application dates compared to most of the other bachelor's and master's programs at Lund University. So Eva-Lena, what are the actual application deadlines for the Art Academy?
Yeah, for all our programs, it's open on 20th of January and it closes on 1st of March.
20th of January till 1st of March for the fine arts programs. And Rebecca, the dates and deadlines for the music programs.
Yes, we opened on 1st of December and we will close. The last day to apply is the 16th of January.
16th of January. And Rebecca, when are the admission results announced?
In beginning of April, I think it's 12th of April. Yeah.
And would it be the same for the fine arts programs, Eva-Lena, or are there other dates for the admission results? No, you're muted.
Sorry, that are other dates, and first the bachelor will be announced and then the master. And we don't have quite set the dates yet, but it will be during the spring, of course.
During the spring, thank you. Another question we have here is about connections shared or shared seminars with other university programs of Lund University. Is that the situation, or are the programs in fine arts and music more separate?
I mean, from our perspective, it's separate. Like in the past, we tried doing joint courses, but we examine in a very different way. So it's I know that one of our students is doing one of the courses at the Music Academy, and in the spring we'll do a test run with the possibility for some of our students to join the critical animal studies in Lund, but they will be examined by an artist in that program. So it's a kind of sort of in-between experiment, but other than that, it's more between the sister academies. We also have a joint course with the Theatre Academy that students can apply to.
And for the music programs, Rebecca?
I would say that there is not for courses, but maybe more for projects and collaborations with some other institutions in Lund and also at Malmö University, but more on project basis and smaller workshops and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Young Yi, would you like to tell us something about the teachers of the programs, being a lecturer yourself, but if you were to mention yourself and some of the other teachers, what do you have to say about them?
I think about this school, the one difference from other school is all the teachers are artists. I mean, we are educators, but also in field we are artists as well. So in that sense, you can build a relationship with while you are still in the school. That's one big advantage, and also how industry changes, so you can learn contemporary art in that way. So that's the biggest advantage, I would say.
And Mai, you're also a lecturer within fine arts. So do you have anything to add here?
I think what is significant is also that it is highly important that our teachers, no matter if it's a teacher or a professor, that they are practicing artists on international level. So we have really world-class teachers in our program. And I think that's significant because when you think of a university structure, you go into a full-time position, we don't do that. We have often 50% or 80% positions. So you have the possibility to actually continue practicing, because that feeds back directly into the students. To have someone you can also mirror in the professional field and really understand that being an artist is, that's a life choice, and that's something you will continue practicing. It's not going in and out of it, it's an identity. So I think that's why it's so important to us that our teachers are incredibly recognized in the fields, and they are not only talented but also skills-based, that it really trickles down to the students.
I can add one more, because you will have also courses that are by guest lecturer, and of course they are also teachers from outside, and we have a lot of these invited teachers, and they are also all the artists. So it's good that you will have always fresh faces and meet them.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
also
really
want to add a little bit about that. We have these external tutors. So it means that we have a faculty that is the teachers within the faculty. But then, I mean, we're a very small school. We're 12 members of the faculty. That means we can't cover all fields, since we are interdisciplinary school. Then we bring in external tutors in the different fields to kind of supplement the faculty. That means that they come twice a semester, and it really builds up over time, so the students can sign up for individual sessions with them. So we have these and the ability to also create really highly specialized courses depending also on the student body. Since we don't accept X painters, X sound artists, we have a mix of the best artists every year. It also means that we need to have a flexibility within how we are scheduling and planning our courses, and it's very much in sync with the student body.
Thank you, both of you. And Rebecca, if we talk about the music programs, then do you have anything to say about the teachers of the programs? What can students expect?
Yes, they can expect, as Mai described, our teachers are also, most of them are part-time here, so they are also actively professional musicians worldwide. So a lot of them with international careers and working in the bigger concert institutions and opera houses and such. And I mean, we have about 200 teachers on different instruments and specializations. And for some instruments, we have more than one teachers for this instrument. So you may be able to even choose between different musicians. And also we do have a lot of regular master classes and guest teachers coming here. I mean, well-known names that come here. And also we have guest professors on different instruments, as in piano. We have Tuija Hakkila, who's a really good opportunity for us to have here during this year. Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities to really meet and get inspired by a lot of really good musicians. Yeah.
And what would you say the relationship is normally between teachers and students? Like in Sweden, we normally talk about having this informal environment where you're on a first name basis and easy accessible teachers.
Yes, I would say it's very, I mean, social and very personal between teachers and students. There is not this hierarchy between teachers and students. You meet on your level and your. I mean, the teachers are the one who also are the jury in the entrance exam, so they really want to work with you who get admitted to the academy. So I would say it's a very democratic and good study environment here between teachers and students and employees. We the other people working in the house as well.
That's also good, of course, and important. And Eva-Lena, being a very small academy, as I mentioned earlier, do you have the same sense of relationship between teachers and students and within the faculty?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very open, and people can just walk into the office if they have to ask a question. And yeah, it's very open, and they all goes both to teachers and staff and whoever they need. So yeah, it's
perfect. And of course, this is a question that we get no matter which program we're talking about at the university, something everyone's interested in. Where do students go after graduation? Where do they find jobs and how do they find jobs?
I mean, one thing that is significant within our field, and I think that also goes for the music academy, is that they will become practitioners in the field of art from our perspective. And that means that we need to equip them with the tools so they will continue practicing art also 10, 15, 20 years from graduation. So it's not, in that sense, it's not that you go directly into a job function. You create your own path as an artist, but that path can look in so many different ways. And that's something that we address throughout the time within the Art Academy as well. That you really know and understand what you can do and what your rights are as an artist. And if we look at the alumni studies, that around 90% after 10 years are still identifying with being an artist. And that doesn't mean that very classical idea, oh, can you live from your art in the sense of a commercial market, but really that you are continuing practicing art throughout the years that are coming long after graduation. And I think that's incredibly important that we talk about this hybrid field of practicing. I mean, Young-Jae and I, we are teaching as well as being artists. And I think it looks in so many different ways, and you understand that kind of very particular skill set that you are forming throughout the years in the Art Academy as an asset that you will bring with you into the future.
And is it also possible within the fine arts programs to continue on into research afterwards? I'm thinking, Young-Jae, if you've also done some research, or am I mistaken there?
Yeah, I did my master program here, but after master, you can also continue being as an artist, and also we have a doctoral program, and not only Malmö Art Academy, we have an inter-art center, so it's a more research-based institution within university. So if you continue to that, and you can also work in that program and also get space and also equipment. They have resources and they have great seminar, and it's supposed to be more interdisciplinary, so between music and theater school. So yeah, in that way you can continue.
Fantastic. And Rebecca, of course, I'm going to ask you the same question here. Where do students go after completing a bachelor's or master's in music?
I would say that we try to give them as many tools as possible. I mean, that's very different from some of them do this audition for the big institution orchestra and get this position there. But we have a lot of students freelancing, or maybe they combine with teaching, in Kulturskolan in Sweden, or on the gymnasium, or so I mean, I believe there's a lot of opportunities for them, and we also see that maybe students who from the beginning applied for the symphony orchestra program, for example, which is very into symphony orchestra, maybe they do something completely other, anything else afterwards, because maybe they during their time here got some other ideas on what they actually want to do with their career and musical life. So I would say there is a lot of opportunities for them, and also Malmö and Öresund region is a really good region, because you have a big area to work, both in Sweden and Copenhagen, and other Nordic countries as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca, as well. Final question I want to ask all of you, basically we can start with Eva-Lena, is if there's anything else you would like to highlight about the master's programs or bachelor's programs in fine arts, anything that we've forgotten to mention here, something that's important for students to know.
I will just encourage students to apply here and grab that opportunity to come here to study if they really do feel for it. And yeah, you're just welcome to apply. Soon open and prepare your application as properly as possible.
Remember to read the instructions. That's where
Yes.
that's where you start. And Young-Yi, if I can, oh sorry, Eva-Lena.
No.
It's okay. Yeah, and Young-Yi, if I continue with you.
No, I think we cover most of them, but I would mention that we also have apartment in Berlin and Amsterdam. So the student can apply to use that space, depend on what project they have. So their project doesn't necessarily limit it within in Sweden. So you can develop and go to trip and so on. Also, if you are in master program, then we have a school trip. So every year there is a art festival like a biennale or Castel Documenta, so for school visiting there, or at least a master class visiting there with the professors or other teachers. So that's how we catch up the contemporary art.
Interesting, thank you. And Mai, continuing with you.
I think both Eva-Lena and Young-Yi covered it so beautifully. It was actually also the apartments I wanted to mention, and that you also have the possibility to apply for project grants throughout your time at the school as a pedagogical tool to learn how to write applications and maybe get some funding for a new project that you're developing. But I think also to just kind of support what Eva-Lena is saying, that we only encourage you to apply for Malmö Art Academy, and we're looking forward to receiving your applications.
Thank you. And of course, Rebecca, you as well, when it comes to music, any final things you would like to highlight or mention?
Maybe it could be worth also to highlight our scholarships. I mean, we have a lot of really good scholarships. Every autumn we divide about 600 Swedish crowns between students. So all students can apply for them every term. So that's also a really good opportunity. And for wind instruments, we actually do for all new admitted students, they automatically get a very big scholarship. So that's also a good opportunity for wind instruments. But I will also mention just the scholarships, because I know the student life can be hard to financiate. Finansiera, vad säger man på?
Finance, I think.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
or two, yeah.
Good.
Just doing some Swedish here. We always do. It's nice.
No. Tired. Yeah, I don't know.
Of course not. Well, with that, I want to say thank you so much for joining as panelists in this webinar. Great answers to all the questions. And For the students attending here and for the students watching this recorded version afterwards, feel free to also get in touch, of course, with the programs directly if you have any questions about the application process or about the content of the programs. I'm sure you're all happy to answer students' questions. It's something you already do, of course. So once again, thank you so much for joining, and keep in touch if you have any questions.